So I sell real estate here in Washington State. I make my living when people move here. So understand what I'm about to do. I'm gonna spend the rest of this video giving you a whole bunch of reasons to not move to Washington. Not just the soft ones, not the, well, it rains a little version that you get from all the relocation channels, but the real ones. The gas prices, the tax code that isn't really what people tell you, the utility bills that went up almost 50% in 2 years, the 228 cloudy days a year in the town I've lived in most of my life. Here's why. I've watched people move here, hate it, and then leave inside of 18 months. They lost money, they lost time, some of them lost a marriage's worth of goodwill over a decision they made off of a highlight reel. And I don't want to be part of that. I'd rather lose a client than sell somebody a life that doesn't fit them. So this isn't a hit piece on my own state. I'm gonna be here after you watch this. My family's here, my businesses are here. This is the conversation I'd have with you at my kitchen table if you called me tonight and said you were thinking about moving to Washington. So let's get into it. Quick context so you know where this is coming from. I graduated from Tumwater High School. I've spent most of my life inside about a 40-mile radius of where I'm sitting right now. I own coffee shops here. I used to own a restaurant here. I employ people here, which means I pay Washington's payroll taxes, Washington's business taxes, and of course, Washington's utility bills every single month. And that matters for this video because most of what you'll hear about Washington online comes from one of two camps. Camp one is trying to sell you on it. Every video is drone footage over Puget Sound, a Pike Place fish toss, somebody telling you there's no income tax. That's marketing. I've probably done all of those things. Camp two is trying to scare you out of it, usually for reasons that have more to do with politics than with whether you'd be happy here or not. That's also marketing. It's just aimed at a different customer. I'm not really doing any of those today. I'm gonna give you numbers, tell you where they came from, tell you where reasonable people disagree about what they mean. Some of this is gonna sound like I'm arguing against my own paycheck. I am. Stay with me anyways, because the last part of this video is the part that really matters and it won't make sense without everything in between. So let's start with the one everybody thinks they've already accounted for and they haven't. You've heard it rains here. Fine. Here's the thing nobody explains properly. The rain isn't the problem. Seattle actually gets less rainfall annually than New York. It also gets less rainfall than Miami, less than Houston as well. If you're picturing a monsoon in Washington, that's wrong. The problem is the gray. Move.org ranks the gloomiest cities in the lower 48 using NOAA climate data. Olympia, my town, comes in fourth. 228 cloudy days a year, plus another 84 partly cloudy. Seattle is fifth at 226. Do that math with me. 312 days a year in Olympia where you do not get a full, clean, open sky. NOAA's numbers for Seattle, 71 clear days a year. The national average for sunny days is right around 205. Seattle's closer to 150 by the broader measure. Here's what that actually feels like because the number doesn't communicate it. It's not dramatic. Nobody moves here and gets hit by a storm and thinks, wow, this is hard. What happens is more subtle and maybe even worse. It's October, it gets dark at 4:30, then it's November and you realize you haven't seen your own shadow in 9 days. Then it's February and you're doing the thing every single one of us does where you're driving and the clouds break for maybe 90 seconds and there's a patch of actual sunlight on a hillside and you feel something in your chest that you're a little embarrassed about. That's the part I can't put on a spreadsheet. There's real health data underneath this. Seasonal Affective Disorder. Clinically, it's major depressive disorder with seasonal pattern. This affects roughly 5% of the US population nationally. Rates climb the farther north you go, and we are pretty far north as far as the United States. Seattle sits at a higher latitude than Toronto. Now, I want to be careful here because this is where people misuse numbers. There's a widely cited PEMCO poll where 59% of Seattle and Portland residents said they experienced the effects of SAD in winter. That's a self-report survey, not a clinical diagnosis rate. It's not 5% versus 59% apples to apples, and it's not 5% versus 59% apples to apples, and anybody telling you that is misreading it. But it tells you something real anyway. A lot of people here notice it. Enough that light therapy lamps are a normal thing to own. Enough that vitamin D gets brought up at your annual physical without you asking. Enough that we have a whole regional vocabulary for it. Here's my honest read. Some of you are gonna move here and the gray is gonna be the best thing that ever happened to you. There's a whole personality type around this. The reader, the person who loves to cook, the person who does their best thinking indoors, the person who finds relentless sunshine kind of exhausting and performative. And those people arrive here and exhale for the first time in years. I've watched it happen a dozen times. And some of you are gonna move here from Phoenix or San Diego or Dallas, and by year 2, you will be a different, dimmer version of yourself, and you won't be able to point out what's wrong. Nobody can tell you in advance which one you are, but I can tell you the test that works. Come in January, not July. Anybody can love this place in July. Come the second week of January, stay 9 days, pay attention to how you feel on day 7. If you can't do that, you're probably not ready to buy here yet. So let's talk about the next thing. And this is a big one, and it's where I'm gonna spend the most time because it's where I see people get hurt worst financially. Somebody probably told you Washington has no income tax. And that's true to an extent. It's also about a third of the story, and the missing 2/3 cost real money. Washington doesn't have an income tax, so the state raises revenue in other ways. Let's walk through them. Sales tax. State rate is 6.5%. Add local and the average combined rate statewide is 9.51%. In a lot of the Puget Sound region, you're paying over 10%. Compare that to Oregon, just 90 minutes south of me, at 0. And in 2025, the legislature expanded what counts as a retail sale, services that were never taxed before, certain advertising, IT, and tech support, staffing, security, some live instruction, all of those became taxable starting October 1st, 2025. The Department of Revenue estimated it touched over 90,000 businesses. So the next thing I want to talk about is gas. As I record this, Washington's average is $5.13 a gallon. The national average is $4.10. That's $1.03 a gallon every fill up. Where does that come from? State gas tax is 56.5 cents a gallon as of July 1st, 2026. That's the third highest in the country behind California and Pennsylvania. That went up 6 cents in 2025, and it now increases automatically 2% every year without a legislative vote. Federal tax adds another 18.4 cents. Then there's the Climate Commitment Act, our cap and investment program. This is where I want you to be careful with numbers you'll see online. Critics attribute around 50 cents a gallon to it. Other analyses put the range at 25 to 60 cents, depending on where allowances settled at auction. There is no single agreed figure, and anyone who gives you one to the penny is telling you what they want to be true. What is not in dispute is that we pay $1 plus over the national average and have for years. Run it for a household with 2 commuters, 30,000 miles a year combined, 25 miles per gallon. That's 1,200 gallons at $1.03 over national. That's about $1,240 a year in fuel It's about $1,240 a year in fuel differential alone. Payroll deductions that aren't income tax but come out of your paycheck anyway, paid family and medical leave, 1.13% of gross wages in 2026, up from 0.92%. Employees pay about 71% of it. Washington Cares, the long-term care program, that's 0.58% of gross wages, employee paid, and critically, no wage cap. That one hits every dollar you earn. Add those two, and a salaried employee is seeing roughly 1.4% of gross come off the top before federal taxes. On $150,000, that's about $2,100 a year. It's not an income tax. It comes out of your paycheck like one though. Capital gains. Since 2022, we've had a 7% tax on long-term capital gains above a threshold that's now around $270,000 and indexed annually. In 2025, the legislature added a second tier, an additional 2.9% on gains over $1 million for 9.9% total. Real estate's exempt, retirement accounts are exempt, and a lot of small business sales are exempt. So this doesn't hit most people. But if you're moving here with a liquidity event ahead of you, get an advisor before you establish domicile, not after. Estate tax, we have one. Exemption is $3 million per individual. This one's had whiplash. 2025 raised the top rates, then the 2026 session rolled them back to the prior 10 to 20% structure. If estate planning is part of your picture, this is not a figure it out later item. And then 2026, the legislature passed SB 6346, which is a 9.9% tax on household income above $1 million. Standard $1 million deduction, so it hits income above that line. That's scheduled to take effect January 1st, 2028, and it's being challenged in court right now on constitutional grounds. I made a full video breaking that bill down, and I'll link it in this video because it deserves more than just 90 seconds in this video. Two things I'll say about it here. One, the governor's framing is that it applies to under half of 1% of residents, and that's accurate as far as it goes. Two, it also reaches pass-through income from LLCs, partnerships, and S-corps, which means some business owners who don't think of themselves as millionaires are gonna find themselves inside it in a good year. Both of those things are true at the same time. The scoreboard. The Tax Foundation ranks Washington 45th out of 50 on its 2026 State Tax Competitiveness Index. State and local tax collections run $7,745 per capita. Now, the fair counter argument, because I promised you I'd give it, if you're a W-2 earner making, say, $120,000 and you're coming from California, you're probably still ahead here on total tax burden. California's top marginal rates are what they are, and the no income tax thing does genuine work for high W-2 earners. But the marketing version, Washington's a tax haven, is wrong. It's a state with a different tax structure, one that leans hard on consumption and on business gross receipts. That structure treats people differently depending on how you earn and how you spend. It's better for some households than California and worse for others than Texas, Tennessee, or Nevada. Run your own numbers, don't run mine, and don't run the ones on the drone footage video. So let's talk about the utility bill that nobody warned you about. This one's newer, and it's the one I get asked about the least, and probably should get asked a lot more. Washington has historically had cheap power. Columbia River Hydro, Grand Coulee, we've been one of the lowest cost electricity states in the country for decades. That's still partly true on a statewide average basis. It is changing fast in the Puget Sound region. Puget Sound Energy serves about 1.2 million electric customers across 10 counties. In December 2025, state regulators approved a roughly 12% electric rate increase effective January 1st, 2026. About $17 a month for a typical residential customer. The Utilities and Transportation Commission told CNN that Puget Sound Energy electric bills are up 48.5% since 2024. 48.5% in 2 years. And PSE has requested further increases for 2027, 2028, and 2029. Under their pending general rate case, a typical residential electric customer would see roughly another $28 a month in early 2027, about $7 more in 2028, and nearly $16 more in 2029. Seattle City Light went up 5.4% in 2026. Avista over in Spokane has proposed 13.9% increases for 2027, with a cumulative 25% by 2030. Why? Depends on who you ask, and I'll give you both sides. The utilities point to clean energy mandates under CETA, aging infrastructure, wildfire mitigation, new generation and transmission, and rising construction costs. Critics point at the Climate Commitment Act compliance costs specifically. PSE now itemizes a state carbon reduction charge on bills as of June 2026, which makes that piece visible for the first time. And nationally, data center demand is pushing power costs up everywhere, which is also a story I've covered on this channel separately. All of those are real contributors. The mix is genuinely debated. Here's the practical version for you. If you're budgeting a move to the Puget Sound region using a cost of living calculator, your utility line is probably stale. Those tools online lag a little bit. So build in a cushion and build in the assumption that this line is going to go up again. Let's talk housing prices region by region. These are mid-2026 numbers. So let's start with King County, Seattle, Bellevue, Redmond, Kirkland. The median sold price in that area is around $875,000 as of June 2026, which is up about 1.7% year over year. Single-family detached homes in Seattle proper are pushing toward and past $1 million in a lot of neighborhoods. Here's the honest framing on that. Seattle is not appreciating very fast right now. It's flat to slightly up, with inventory up meaningfully. Active listings jumped roughly 25% year over year. That's actually good news if you're trying to buy. It's not a crash, and I'm not going to pretend like it is. In Snohomish County, the average price right now is about $734,000, down about 5.8% year over year. That's a real decline, and that's something that should be considered. Pierce County, so Tacoma, Puyallup, JBLM area, this is the value corridor of the western part of the state right now, and it's where a lot of my clients end up when they run the numbers honestly. All of the home values in this area are holding pretty steady with pretty consistent appreciation year over year. Thurston County, Olympia, Lacey, Tumwater, median sold price is around $520,000, down about 1.4% year over year. Roughly 1,000 active listings, 13 days on market is the average, about 3.1 months of inventory. So about $355,000 less than King County. For a lot of families, that difference is the difference between owning and renting. But I'm not gonna sell you that without the cost. The cost is that if your job is in Seattle, that commute is 60 miles each way, and it's not a 60-mile commute, it's an I-5 commute, which means it's 90 minutes on a good day, and usually it's not regularly a good day. I've watched people do it for 2 years and then quit. Every single one of them that I've seen do that tells me the same thing. The money saved wasn't worth the hours lost. Now, if you travel further down south, Clark County, Vancouver is the main area there. It's right across from Portland. Down there, the median is around $575,000, which is up 6.5% year over year, the strongest growth of the major counties in Washington. Worth knowing why. People live in Washington for no income tax and shop in Oregon for no sales tax. That arbitrage is pretty legit, and it's priced in. Statewide median listing price is around $622,000. A note on Spokane, because I want to be straight with you, you'll find data floating around right now showing a dramatic Spokane price drop. I'm not going to repeat those numbers on camera because the sample sizes I'm seeing look too small to really be reliable, and I'd rather be right than dramatic and give you the best information I can. Spokane is meaningfully cheaper than the west side of Washington, and that much is solid. If you want real Spokane numbers, I'd recommend talking to a Spokane agent that can pull the current MLS data, not from a chart on the internet, including mine. So the affordability reality check. One recent analysis put the income a single person needs to live comfortably in Seattle at about $135,000 a year. That's the 6th highest in the country. And here's the piece that ties that together. Seattle area inflation for the 12 months ending June 2026 was 4.5%. National was 3.5%. That's the second highest of any major metro in the country, behind only Philadelphia. Energy prices in the metro were up 20.7% over the year. Gas was up 24.7%. Apparel up 14.7%. So the picture isn't expensive. Lots of places are expensive. The picture is expensive and getting more expensive faster than the rest of the country. Everything I've said so far describes the western third of the state. There's another Washington, and if you're picturing evergreens and drizzle, you don't know it exists. Across the Cascades and its high desert, Spokane, the Tri-Cities, Yakima, Wenatchee, Walla Walla, Ellensburg, there's sunshine there, actual sunshine, the thing I spent 4 minutes telling you we don't have. Housing that costs a fraction of the west side, cold, real winters instead of gray, damp ones, triple-digit summers. For a certain kind of person, that's the answer to everything I've complained about. It's cheaper, it's sunnier, there's more room out there. Here's the trade. I'm recording this in the first week of August 2026, and right now, Washington and Oregon are in what's being called the worst fire season in more than 30 years. There are fires burning on the north side of Spokane that have destroyed homes, actual neighborhoods, actual families this week. There's a federal emergency declaration out there. I'm gonna say this carefully because people are living through it as I speak, and it's not content to me. If you're watching this from Spokane, I'm sorry, and there are several relief links in this description of this video. But I'd be doing you a disservice if I didn't tell you the truth about what summer means east of the mountains. Air quality in Spokane hit levels rated very unhealthy to hazardous this season. The Tri-Cities, Walla Walla, and Pullman get hit repeatedly. Wenatchee sits downwind of the big burns most years, and smoke season now regularly reaches the west side too. Seattle and Olympia got smoke alerts this week. This isn't a freak year that won't repeat. Ask anybody who's lived east of the Cascades for a decade. Some summers are fine. Some summers you plan around the air quality index the way people in Florida plan around hurricanes. If you have asthma, if you have young kids with respiratory issues, if outdoor recreation is the entire reason that you're moving here, you need to look at multi-year AQI data for the specific town you're considering before you buy a home here. Not the state, the town or the city. The eastern side of this state is beautiful, affordable, and underrated. It also asks something of you in July and August that the brochures don't really mention. Washington's geography is stunning and it's logistically hostile. I-5 is the only continuous north-south artery on the west side. There is no alternate. When it goes down with an accident or weather or construction, there's no good route around it. You sit. I've been in it. Everybody who lives here has been in it. Ferries. If you fall in love with Bainbridge or Vashon, Kingston, or the San Juans, understand that you're marrying the ferry system. That means schedules, that means waiting in a car line, and that means cancellations when crews or vessels are short. People who move to the islands for the lifestyle and then have to commute discover that a missed boat isn't an inconvenience. It's a whole day sometimes that you have to reschedule. Let's talk about mountain passes. Snoqualmie is the main east-west crossing. It closes, not theoretically, it closes multiple times most winters for avalanche control or conditions. If your family is split across the state, plan on that. Seattle traffic is what you'd expect for a city built on the narrow channel between two bodies of water with hills, with water on both sides limiting how many lanes can physically exist. The constraint is topography, not policy, and it isn't getting solved. None of this is dramatic. It's the kind of thing that doesn't show up on any cost of living calculator and shows up in your life about 4 times a week. Now, this is a hard one, but I got to address it. I got to talk about the homelessness, and I'm gonna try to do this like an adult. Washington's homelessness rate is around 400 per 100,000 residents. The national average is 227 per 100,000 1,000 residents. We're in the top 10 states alongside Oregon, California, and Alaska. Seattle and King County have the third largest count of any urban service area in the country, roughly 16,900 people in the most recent federal reporting. If you visit downtown Seattle or parts of Tacoma or parts of Olympia, you will see it. I'm not gonna tell you that you won't, and I'm not gonna tell you that you're imagining it or it's just media coverage. It's visible and it's very persistent. I'm also gonna tell you what the research says, because this is where the conversation usually goes off a cliff in both directions. The strongest available research finds that differences in per capita homelessness across US cities track housing costs far more closely than they track rates of mental illness, addiction, or poverty. Those problems exist everywhere in America at roughly similar rates. What differs is the price of a place to live. And a 2019 survey found that 84% of people experiencing homelessness in Seattle and King County had been housed in Seattle or King County before they lost their housing. Meaning this is largely a locally generated problem, not people arriving from elsewhere. What you do with that information is up to you, and reasonable people land in very different places on the policy response. I'm not gonna tell you how to vote, but if you're evaluating a move, here's the practical takeaway. This is regional and it's concentrated. The experience in downtown Seattle is very different than the experience in Bellevue, which is very different from Puyallup, which is different than my street here in Thurston County. Don't make a decision about 8 million people's state based on one walkthrough through one neighborhood in either direction. Go see the actual specific place that you want to live. Now, let's talk about 3 quick things that don't really fit in a category, but matter more than they sound. The Seattle freeze. It's a cliche, but it's also a real thing. People here are polite and hard to befriend. You will have pleasant conversations with your neighbors for 4 years and never be invited into their house. It's not hostility, it's a culture where people are private. Plans get made 3 weeks out and nobody drops by. If you're coming from the South or the Midwest, this is gonna be the loneliest thing about your first 2 years, and it will probably hit you harder than the gray. My honest advice around this is join something structured before you need it. A gym, a church, a rec league, a volunteer thing. The organic version of making friends here is slow enough that a lot of people give up before it happens. So the job market has softened, especially in tech. The Seattle area had about 205,000 people in computer and mathematical occupations in 2024, down about 11,000 from the year before. Only California outpaced Washington for tech layoffs. If your relocation plan is, I'll find something once I'm here, and the something is tech, that plan is riskier than it was 3 years ago. Get the offer first. Population growth is being carried by international migration, not Americans. Washington crossed 8 million residents in 2025, but net domestic migrations, Americans moving here from other states, was only about 9,000 people, ranking us 16th in the country. International migration accounted for more than half the growth. For 3 straight years before that, more Americans left Washington than arrived. I don't say that to scare you, I say it because it's a signal. A lot of people already ran the math I just walked you through and made a different call than moving here. Now, let me be super direct with you. Don't move here if sunshine is load-bearing for your mental health. Not you'd prefer it load-bearing. If winter already gets you, this state will take that and multiply it. Arizona, Florida, the Carolinas, go there. I mean that as a friend. Don't move here for the tax savings alone. If your entire thesis is no income tax and you're a heavy consumer, a driver, a business owner paying B&O on gross receipts, or someone with a larger estate, run the full picture. The consumption side, the fuel side, the business side may eat the entire benefit. For some households, it does. Don't move here if you need a big house on a big lot for under $400,000 on the west side. It really doesn't exist. Not in Thurston County, not in Pierce County, certainly not in King County. I'm not gonna find it for you, and neither will anybody else. That listing that you're looking for is probably in Idaho, it's probably in Montana, or maybe it's on the east side of Washington. Don't move here planning to commute Olympia to Seattle daily. I've watched that break people. If the job is in Seattle and there's no remote flexibility, live closer and pay for it, or take a different job. Don't move here if you're conflict averse about the political environment. Washington is a solidly blue state with a rural-urban split that is wide and getting wider. If you're on the right and you move to Seattle, or you're on the left and you move deep into the eastern counties, you're gonna feel it constantly. Not dangerous, just tiring. There are places on both sides of that divide where you'd feel at home, and I can point you at them, but pick on purpose instead of finding out later. And again, this video is not political at all. I am just telling you the God honest truth. Don't move here without spending a winter week here first. If you take one thing from this entire video, take that. So after all of that, all the things that I've said, I'm still here. I chose to build my entire life inside this 40-mile radius where I grew up. I opened businesses here. I could have gone anywhere. Here's what the negative version of this video can't capture. There's a stretch in late June where the gray breaks and it stays light until almost 10 at night. And it's like the whole state comes out all at once. I've traveled, and I'll say the most beautiful place in the United States is probably Washington. And I honestly don't really think it's close. You have water, mountains, forest, all visible from the same spot. And nobody who lives here has stopped noticing that. There's the fact that I can be at the Pacific Ocean in 90 minutes, I can be on a glacier in 2 hours, and I can be in a genuine desert in 3 hours. There's the gray itself, which I complained about for like 5 minutes in this video, and which I'd also tell you produced the music, coffee, and the reading culture that makes this place what it is. That's not an accident of climate. Cultures grow out of weather. And there's a thing about the people here that the Seattle freeze framing gets wrong. Yes, it probably takes about 2 years, but the friendships that you make here are load-bearing when they finally arrive. People don't perform closeness here. When somebody here says they'll show up, they show up. I'm not walking any of the numbers back. Every one of them is real, and I source them so you can check me. I'm telling you, they're the price. And whether the price is worth it or not isn't something that I can answer for you. It depends entirely on who you are. What I can promise is that I'll never tell you it's free. If you've got through all of that and you're still thinking about making a move to Washington, that's actually the strongest signal that I know of. The people who move here and stay are the ones who knew the trade-offs before going in. Here's what I tell you to do next. If you want to talk about a specific area, whether Thurston County makes sense versus Pierce, whether the Olympia-Lacey-Tumwater difference matters for your situation, whether the commute you're imagining is survivable, I've got a link in my description with all of my contact information. 15 minutes, we can talk. I'll tell you if I think you shouldn't move here, or maybe if you should. I've done that several times before. If you're relocating for JBLM, if you're retiring here, you want the tax picture, maybe you're coming from California and want a cost comparison, I've made several videos on almost all of these. And if this was useful, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. I make one of these every single week, and I'd rather you find out what you're getting into from somebody who has lived here. My name's Kenan Maurer, and thank you so much for watching this whole thing. I'll see you in the next video.